Welcome everyone, this is Nathan Lindorf with The Rational Independent, and today we are digging back into the muck. I was really hoping we can put this to the side, but I get the feeling that this is going to be the tone and tenor of the presidential race as everything starts to ramp up and we start to move ourselves into primary season. I think so long as President Trump is a candidate, the press is going to do everything they can to keep nasty rumors swirling and to keep his reputation in question. Let's just dive in. It's messy, but we got to talk about it. From The Independent, headline, An Open Secret. Top White House aides reveal Trump's alleged inappropriate conduct towards female staffers. Former Trump administration aides say his boorish behavior towards women didn't stop when he was in the White House. One thing to note when it comes to smear campaigns are really a pressure campaign. And one thing you can see when it comes to coordinated smear campaign is that you can see the way that they repeat over and over and over every single allegation in every variety, especially those that begin to have a measure of credibility. They work really, really hard to present those as factual and to take something that is proposed or something that is conjecture and mix it and present it in the reporting right next to something that is maybe a little stronger, maybe a little more factual, hoping some of that credibility begins to rub off. Also, there's a measure of the sheer repetition. When you have so many voices chanting the same message over and over and over again, you can create a degree of credibility just from sheer repetition, even if it's totally a lie. Advertising executives have known this for years. It's one of the reasons why advertising works as well as it does. Repetition creates credibility. So let's look at some of the examples. Opening paragraph, just 1 week after a Manhattan jury found former President Donald Trump liable for sexually assaulting and defaming writer E. Jean Carroll, no fewer than 3 women who had senior roles in his administration have come forward to allege inappropriate behavior on Mr. Trump's part towards women on his White House staff. You'll notice that these allegations are framed in the context of the recent jury verdict in New York. Regardless of the merits of that case, regardless of whether it stands up on appeal, because it exists, the smear campaign can use it to now say, look, here's one thing that happened. Oh, here's another thing that happened. Oh, here's another thing. And as this article goes on, it says, now wait, in the past there were all these other allegations, et cetera, et cetera. There's one thing to keep in mind when it comes to all of this. That's too simplistic. There's a few things to keep in mind when it comes to any time there's a smear campaign run like this. Are they willing to do this to any candidate of any stripe? Or do they only go after candidates of a particular political persuasion? If they only go after a candidate based on their politics, that's a huge strike against their credibility. I think it's wonderful to see aggressive reporting to hold people who are in power accountable. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to see people receive the comeuppance when they realize that they are not above the law. That being said, there are allegations, credible and otherwise, against President Biden. Do we give any sort of similar airtime to such allegations, much less this consistent drumbeat, this overwhelming narrative? These sorts of things are all that's being talked about on Reddit today. I would have gladly picked another topic, but this was basically what I had to choose from. Instead, you see attacks against Republican political operators, which is no surprise because the left is in control of the media, and the left does not like the Republican platform or the Republican candidates, generally speaking. The other thing to keep in mind is that we have a criminal justice code, and there is a right way and a wrong way to handle sexual misconduct. The simple truth is, for as much as he's a bit of a tool bag, Mike Pence had a pretty good rule. He was mocked. He was roundly mocked in the 2016 cycle when he presented that he had a personal rule. He does not take private meetings with women who are not his wife. He doesn't do dinner. He doesn't do after-hours meetings. None of that. The reason why is because it makes it much harder to create credible allegations of misbehavior if you have a rule like that. I have a similar rule, although I'm not nearly so high profile as anybody like what we're talking about here. If I talk to somebody, my wife knows about it. It's a matter of respect. It's a matter of, if I'm open and transparent in my communications, then people know I'm not trying to hide stuff. Am I a perfect person? No, not a perfect person. But it's not a bad idea, if you're getting into politics, to be careful in your speech, to be careful in your conduct, to be careful what you're doing, because you may end up facing a pressure campaign, a smear campaign like this. And the more loose you are in your conduct and your tongue, and the more relaxed you are about who you spend time with and in what combinations, the more opportunities there will be to create credible allegations against you. As a perfect case in point, we have President Donald Trump. The man has no filter on his tongue. One of his best debate moments, again, it's funny. Is it presidential? It's another story. Someone challenged him, one of the moderators, I think it was Megyn Kelly, challenged him and said, "You've called women pigs." And his response was, "Only Rosie O'Donnell." Everyone who doesn't like Rosie O'Donnell laughed about that. That's kind of funny. You get a gut reaction to it. Is it appropriate? No. Is it kind? No. Is it presidential? I would say no. Is it effective politicking? Apparently, yeah. He became president. President Trump says stuff that is offensive, says stuff that is gross, says stuff that is blunt and crude. Look at the Access Hollywood tape. It's referenced in this article. We might as well talk about it. I'll cut this out so my kids don't see it, but we have to talk about it. If you look at what he's saying is that some women will let you take advantage of them sexually if it advances their own goals, either to access money or power. That has been the nature of the human race for millennia. This is not news. Anyone who thinks this is news is an idiot. Guess what? Men will offer power and money to try and entice women to engage with them sexually. It's known as the oldest profession. There is supply and demand here. There's a market for these services, any way you want to look at it. Stating that such a thing is true, that it's a reality, that if you are famous and wealthy, women will enthusiastically let you take sexual advantage of them, is not a false statement. It's ugly. It's crude. It's not a lie. It also is not, as much as the left wants it to be, it is not an admission that President Trump personally, indiscriminately, treats women in this way, whether they want him to treat him this way or not. That's their thesis. That's a piece of evidence that points towards President Trump as a moral monster who uses his fame and his power to take advantage of and to disrespect women extensively, or rather even universally. President Trump is vulnerable to this sort of attack because he doesn't follow any of Mike Pence's rules, because he doesn't guard his tongue, because he makes comments about women's appearance, because he clearly has misbehaved in the past. He's had multiple wives. That's usually an indication that there's been some misbehavior of one sort or another by either party. I'm not just casting aspersions on men. There's typically only a couple of reasons why marriages break apart. This is one of them. So unfortunately, for everyone who loves Trump and wants to make him a saint, he's not a saint. He can be an effective politician, an effective leader. He can be a funny guy. He can help you accomplish your political ends. He can do all of those things and have really crummy behaviors towards women. Both of those things can be true at the same time. Circling back to the fact that there's an appropriate way of handling these things. If you have someone who assaults you physically, male or female, after all, there's plenty of gay men in power that are going to go after male subordinates that they find sexually attractive. There are plenty of women in power now, as we equalize across the genders, who may use their position for their own advantage. This is human nature. If someone takes advantage of you sexually, gather evidence and prosecute them. Or accept the behavior as something that happened and you're willing to allow to continue happening for your own reasons. Everyone has their own moral compass. Or accept that it happened, decide that you don't want to prosecute it, and walk away from the situation. Maybe that means you need to make a career change. Maybe that means that you need to find a new boss. Maybe that means you need to change schools. Maybe that means you need to pursue a different degree. Those are your three choices. Gather evidence and prosecute them. Allow it to keep happening because it works for you, or set a boundary and say no more, but I'm not going to prosecute, and leave. Those are three good choices. Guess what isn't a good choice? Dragging someone's name through the muck because it's politically advantageous to you, to cast aspersions on someone else's character about something that happened in the past, where you're a little vague on the details, or you describe the behavior, but nothing so specific as to rise to the level of defamation. After all, if it's a specific lie, that can get you in trouble. If it's a vague lie, it's very hard to get in trouble for. So let's look at some of the people in this article who are casting aspersions. A trio of people, including two of Mr. Trump's top lieutenants. Alyssa Farah Griffin, his former White House communications director, who now, coincidentally, co-hosts The View. I wonder where her politics lies, if she's comfortable on The View. I don't watch The View, so I haven't seen her in person. Stephanie Grisham, who served as press secretary for both Mr. Trump and former First Lady Melania Trump. Ms. Grisham, shockingly, has become a vocal critic of the ex-president since the end of his administration. She makes a variety of accusations where she says things like, President Trump really liked looking at one particular woman's ass, and he said so. That's definitely boorish behavior. That's definitely inappropriate behavior. It's not illegal behavior. And we have Alyssa Farah Griffin, who served as top spokesperson for Mike Pence before serving in the White House under President Trump. I wonder if her former boss has basically a blood feud against Donald Trump. And, Mike Pence is rumored to be running in 2024 against Mr. Trump. I wonder if there might be another motivation why she might want to run his name through the mud. She told the Daily Beast she witnessed, quote, a number of problematic behaviors and comments from the then president towards young female White House staffers. Guess what? That's not actionable. That's just saying, I didn't like what he said. I'm not going to back it up with any details. I didn't record anything. I don't have any evidence. I just thought it was problematic. Quote, I don't know if it was handled, but this is a man who does not respect women. It's a man who objectified women. Now, it is good to respect women. It is not good to objectify them. But guess what? That's her opinion about his behavior. That's all it is. This is a person offering an opinion. Let's call it news. Why not, right? This goes on and on and on. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Here's my 2 cents. I hate smear campaigns. Because all they do when you wrestle with the pig is you both get dirty, but the pig enjoys it. In a smear campaign, the people who are running your name through the mud don't have to be right. They don't even have to be in the ballpark of right. If they can trash your reputation, they win. In other words, they don't have to win, they just have to make you lose. I hate that. Drives me bonkers. Now, that being said, if you're a person in power and you misbehave, you should be held accountable. I feel like we shouldn't have to say that out loud, but somehow, if you come out against a smear campaign, the response is, you must support this kind of behavior. No, I support behavior that, and from a leadership perspective, means you respect other people and you behave properly. And if you don't, you're held accountable to that, regardless of political persuasion. I don't know why that's hard. I don't know why we insist on doing things this way, other than it's politically very effective. I will offer a counterpoint, something worth considering. President Trump has had his personal life, his business life, his family, his extended relations, his business dealings, his taxes, everything he said on social media. He's had just about every sliver of his life examined under a microscope. People who are professional investigators, who are professional law enforcement officers, who are professional reporters, dig into the minutia of his life for coming up on a decade now. People who are very motivated to destroy his reputation in order to eliminate him as a political rival. That's just fact. And in all that time, he's never been convicted of anything. He's never been, in all that time, he's never been convicted of anything, and they've never succeeded in destroying his reputation. That's not the case all the time. You'll notice Bill Cosby had a great reputation. Had a reputation as a family man, a funny man, a clean comic. Had one of the most successful family-friendly sitcoms ever. Now, his reputation, he's a man who's practically unmentionable. Because when there's credibility to the allegations, they tend to stick. And people tend to turn against you. Ask yourself if your life could hold up to that scrutiny. Ask yourself if someone paid millions of dollars to dig through your life over an extended period of time and try and subvert former friends and allies, try and turn them against you, would they be successful? Are there perhaps some business dealings in your past that maybe weren't as forthright as you should have been? Was all that overtime you submitted really justified? Was every single one of those expense reports completely accurate? Did you ever double dip? Did you ever charge something you shouldn't have charged? Did you ever fudge on your taxes? Did you ever not pay a bill? Did you ever accept a bank error in your favor? To go back to Monopoly. Did you ever lie to a loved one? Did you ever keep a secret from your spouse? Did you ever have an affair? These are human things that happen. This is real life. And for the monster that they make President Trump out to be, it is remarkable to me how little they have found after nearly a decade of exhaustively searching. What they have heading in so far to the 2024 elections is a handful of allegations, some of which have gone to court, some of which are going to court, that have resulted in either indictment or, not conviction, that's not the right word for civil court, liability finding. I know it doesn't roll off the tongue. In very, and I can't even put enough varies here, very left-friendly, Trump not friendly jurisdictions. When you have environments where President Trump is basically seen as an enemy of the state, the literal state, the district attorney in those environments moves against him, and things start to happen to give some of these allegations credibility. And in nowhere else do you see anything gaining traction. The man has been wiretapped illegally, tax records stolen, and revealed through reporting without his permission. Numerous former confidants roll on him and share damaging information. He has been taped and had those tapes released in an unflattering way. He has had a bunch of stuff happen. The fact that he's still standing is a remarkable statement to his character. I personally struggle with Donald Trump. As a man and as a political leader, I think we need better. I'm not a Trump fan. I've detailed some of my frustrations and challenges with him personally and politically. But compared to the typical politician, he is incredibly clean in his business dealings. He is incredibly clean in his dealings with other people personally. Not compared to a saint, compared to his peers. The fact that so little traction has been gotten by this long-running, very influential, powerful people digging into his dirt and his trash astounds me. And it's a testament to his character. So that's my 2 cents. It's going to be a doozy of a campaign season. Good luck out there.